Good morning, everyone. Thank you for spending some of your Wednesday morning with us. I'm Stephanie Staub. I'm the Director of Infrastructure and Energy Sector Strategy and Workforce Partnerships. And I, along with Stephanie Samuel, our Program Manager, welcome you to the May Infrastructure and Energy Collaborative. First, I'd like to offer greetings to all of our partners, those who we see each month and those who are new to the collaborative. I do see some new faces and names today, so thank you for joining us. On behalf of Dr. Aaron Fichtner, President of the New Jersey Council of County Colleges, our Senior Director, Catherine Stargell, as well as Michelle Sakurka, CEO, and Chrissy Butius, Government Affairs Chief with NJBIA, we wouldn't be here today discussing these important topics and the work of the New Jersey Pathways Initiative without these four visionary leaders. And before we get started, I do want to go through a few housekeeping issues. First, please use the chat. Put your name, organization in the chat, and please use the chat for comments and questions throughout the program. We want the segments to be as interactive and responsive in real time, so please do share your thoughts throughout the presentations. We also want your feedback, so please scan the QR code when we have that feedback. There's a feedback, there you go, a QR code. You can scan that and give us your feedback. You can do that throughout the presentation. You can do that at the end of the presentation. Just please do it because your feedback is very important to us. This is your collaborative, and we want to make sure that the programs that we present each month are impactful and valuable to you. And finally, social media. We hope that you help us spread the word about the collaborative through your social media. Let your network know that you're participating. Use the hashtag NJPathways when talking about the collaborative or the initiative in general. So today, the theme of our collaborative is dual enrollment. Those of you who attend other industry sectors have heard terrific presentations from the folks at the Community College Research Center at Columbia University, who talked about important trends and issues related to dual enrollment, particularly looking at dual enrollment as it relates to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Our agenda today takes that data and looks at examples on a state and local level, focusing on experience, challenges, and best practices. First, we'll hear from Michelle Lair with the North Carolina Community College System, whose mission is to open the door to high-quality, accessible educational opportunities that minimize barriers to post-secondary education, maximize student success, and develop a globally and multicultural competent workforce. Then we'll dive into the Salem County College Accelerated Program and the partnership of Salem County Vocational Technical Schools and Salem Community College, with a bit of a focus on nuclear technology. So please join me in welcoming to the screen Michelle Lair, Director of Academic Programs from North Carolina Community Colleges. Michelle has spent over 25 years working in the field of education. She has worked in secondary education and in an education-serving nonprofit prior to transitioning to higher education. She currently serves as North Carolina Community College System Office as the Director of Academic Programs and Acting Chair and College Promise CTE Coordinator. Expanding access and increasing success for students in the state of North Carolina is what Michelle seeks to do in her role as she works to contribute to the overall economic development of the state. Michelle, thank you for joining us today. We appreciate you spending your morning with us. So as we get started, can you give us an overview of North Carolina's dual enrollment program and how the current Career and College Promise focuses on pathway options?
Absolutely. Good morning. I bring you greetings from North Carolina, albeit I do have a bit of a New Jersey connection. So I do feel like I'm at home with family there in the great state of New Jersey as well. And to your question about Career and College Promise and our pathways as a part of that program, I'll share with you just a brief sort of historical perspective here on dual enrollment in our state. As you know, dual enrollment's been around for quite a while, lots of years, and North Carolina, like many states in the country, had its own various and sundry iterations of it throughout those years. You'll see here in this just brief visual, a bit of a summary of sort of the history of the current opportunity that we have for dual enrollment with Career and College Promise and how we arrived at it in our state. Because of the multiple different approaches that we had to Career and College Promise that you see, Housekeeping Join and Earn, we had cooperative integrated high schools, which were basically dual enrollment focused high schools. A lot of people know them as early colleges. We had all of those things sort of going on in various ways. And in 2011, you'll see that our legislature started looking at some of the data and determined that it would be best to sort of join all of those various iterations under one umbrella. Hence, Career and College Promise reform in the state of North Carolina. This legislative program for us, the beauty of this program we'll get to in a second is that it is provided to our students in the state tuition free. And one of the reasons that the legislature determined to go in this direction to create this sort of umbrella approach, various pathways underneath that umbrella, was we saw students taking courses in what I call a cafeteria approach. They had access to these courses and so they're taking all these great, college courses, and we all know that college courses in and of themselves, if they're not going in a direction, are not going to yield the student much on the other end. So hence the pathway approach was adopted. And if you take a look at the next slide, you'll see the legislation that brought that into being and sort of the overall purpose, if you will, of Career and College Promise, or CCP as we call it in our state. We wanted to sort of put a stop to, if you will, the cafeteria approach and really look at structuring pathways for our students so that our eligible students in the state, no matter where they were, had an option to engage in that college coursework early, getting that jump start on college and career. And those pathways, all of them lead to certificates, diplomas, degrees, or state or industry recognized credentials here in our state. And the goal was to get our students ready to enter the workforce. The entry-level job skills were ultimately the goal. And so you'll see that beautiful little phrase there at the end, tuition free. It is wonderful that in our state, it is prioritized such that our students can engage tuition free. And so again, as young as ninth grade, our students have opportunity to jump in.
Michelle, if you could just speak up a little bit louder, you're just a little
Absolutely.
difficult to hear.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Is that a little bit better?
That's much better. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Thank
Maybe
you.
my microphone. I'm glad you stopped and told me. That's great. All right. And so on our next slide, if you will take a look at that one, you'll see kind of what our approach was as we developed these pathways and what our focus was. We'll go back one slide to look at sort of our three-pronged approach here. We really wanted to help students make informed decisions. So a lot of intentionality went into helping our students around determining what career path was best to them. A lot of career counseling and conversations, both at the high school level as well as at the secondary level on our community college campuses. Secondarily, we wanted to make sure that we created pathways that allow students to progress through them as easily as possible so that they were leading to or headed to valuable credentials that would truly help them with workforce entry, and then certainly position them such that they have the opportunity to advance in those careers as well. And then last but not least, and actually probably most importantly, we wanted to make sure that our students had the targeted supports that they needed, providing those interventions at the appropriate time to really ensure that our students were not just getting into these pathways, but they were making it through the pathways and on to what their next step was. This sort of three-pronged approach is our way of ensuring student success along that pathway, which is obviously helpful for the student, but it's certainly helpful for industry in our state as well. We want and need, as most states do, a workforce that's skilled and educated and ready to fill those positions that we have in all the various industries. So the only way we're going to do that is ensuring that those students are making it through the pathway to the other side with those skills and that education in tow. So those supports are critical and something that we certainly spend a lot of time on in our state. Our next slide will just give you a quick look at what Career and College Promise and dual enrollment looks like in our state. And you'll see we have 3 pathway options on that slide. We have our our college transfer pathway. And these are for students that are looking to go on to careers that would require a 4-year degree. And so you can see the different opportunities there as young as freshman year. Students, again, can engage in that. Our career and technical education pathways are tremendous for us. We have several of those in pretty much every area that you can think of in terms of industry, everything from business and IT to our skilled trades, mechanical, electronic engineering, you name it, we have it. So you'll see there is, again, as young as freshman year, students are able to engage in those pathways, albeit for a select group of pathways for our freshmen and sophomores. They do have that opportunity, and these are all curriculum credit-bearing courses. The students can actually earn curriculum, certificates, diplomas, or degrees from our community colleges while they're in high school, and many of them, an increasing number of them, actually are doing so. Fairly recently, I think it was in 2017 or 18, if I recall correctly, we added to our career and technical pathway option what we call workforce continuing education in our state. And these are opportunities for students to engage in courses that lead to state or industry recognized credentials. So you will see things like CNA. You'll see things like our various welding credentials that students can earn. They are doing that again while they're in high school, so they are coming out of high school equipped and ready to enter those fields. And then last but not least, we still do have our early college option, which is really sort of an integration of the college transfer and the career and technical. We have what we call innovative high schools or early colleges that are college transfer focused, and many, and probably more so now, are career and technical focused. We are actually about to open, just got approval to open 2 new ones in the state next year. One is focused on health careers, so it's looking at nurse aid, medical assisting, getting our students ready and credentialed in those directions. And then our second one is focused on biotech, which is a growing area, growing field in our state in particular. So you can see how all 3 of these pathway options can work together to really and truly equip our youngest students, our students coming out of high school, with what they need to be ready to enter the workforce. Next slide, I believe, just gives you some resources that we wanted to provide. So we encourage you, if you get these slides, to just explore and to reach out, certainly if you have any questions. But again, I will say I don't think North Carolina is any different than any of the states across the country with a desperate need for a workforce. And so Career and College Promise and dual enrollment in our state is one of the ways that we're trying to address that need. And certainly our pathway options for our students are helping us do that. So grateful to be here and share a little bit. And thanks so much.
Great, thank you so much. And Stephanie did put those links in the chat, so anybody who's interested, please grab them there. So Michelle, thank you. That was great. I appreciate that overview. And so I know when we spoke previously, looking at dual enrollment with an equity lens, right? What are the biggest challenges is funding. And so we talked about some strategies. So can you share some of the strategies that you have been implemented to help mitigate that obstacle?
Absolutely. Money is a big thing, right? Economic capital is what a lot of our students come to us with a dearth of. And so I think probably the biggest mitigation that we have is the fact that we do have tuition-free courses. So that means that our students, no matter where they are, if they qualify, are able to access the courses through one of those pathway options that we shared before, tuition-free. That's budgeted. We don't have to worry that those monies are there. The students earn FTE in the same way that our traditional students do in our state. However, as we all know, over and above that tuition, there are other requirements in terms of funding that our students need as well. Many of our colleges, I'm sure yours in New Jersey have as well, are fees that are over and above the tuition, right? And so how do you deal with fees? Most of our colleges, many of our colleges actually have engaged their foundation boards and other folks to help cover those fees for those students. So it's sort of free for the students, but not free, period, right? We know
Mhm.
somebody's
Right.
covering it somewhere.
Nothing is free, right?
Nothing's free, right? So the foundation boards have taken that on
Mhm.
to cover those fees for those students. And so they are using or leveraging those funds. Some of our school districts in our state are being leveraged as well, and they are covering those funds for the students who are coming to us from their respective school districts for those fees. So that's a tremendous help for the school
Yes.
districts that have the ability to do that. We have a handful of colleges and areas where they don't necessarily have those resources in terms of foundation boards or in terms of their local school districts. And so those fees are passed on to students, which is a challenge. And
Mhm.
in those cases, usually community partners are engaged to try to help mitigate those costs. That can come in the form of PTA groups, for example, parent-teacher organizations, business alliance groups that many of our high schools have that are serving there alongside the faculty at the high schools. So they leverage those other resources to help. So that's one avenue.
Mhm.
Books are a huge thing, and not only books, but also think about courses, in particular, some of your skilled trades.
Mhm.
You think about welding kits, or you think about nurse aid, and they have uniforms, and you've got background checks they've got to do. Those are
Right.
monies that have to come from
Mhm.
somewhere. You think about cosmetology, which is another big one, lots of money there investing. And so those are opportunities where, again, a lot of folks on our campuses engage foundation partners to cover those costs, or they are using, again, local resources, community partners in terms of PTSAs, business alliances, and other folks who are willing to try to help the students with those costs.
That's great. I mean, there's a lot of resources. There's a lot of great support for the students. So along with the funding issue, it comes a conversation about first generation college students, right? So besides the funding aspect of it, what are some best practices that you can share to help increase the number of first generation students? Like, what are those obstacles and how can we assist them beyond the funding portion of it?
Absolutely. I will tell you, and we're pretty transparent here. So one of the resources that you will see is a link to our dashboards. They're data dashboards that are public facing. And so if you do some diving into the data there, you will see, as we do, some just challenges around engaging some pockets or demographics of students. And our first gen, which really can cut across, multiple different race and ethnic groups, but nonetheless, our first gen are a challenge. And again, I come back to that thing of capital, just not knowing, not having someone who's gone before you to sort of show you the path. And so we, like everybody, I think probably struggle a little bit in that area, and we'd like to see we close some gaps. And I'm pretty actually happy with some of the way that we've closed the gaps, but certainly have work to do. Some of the strategies that we've used is they're really grassroots, to be honest, and that's what we've seen that's worked the most.
Mhm.
Our colleges engaging at the school level. So beyond the district level or sort of agency level that I sit at, or even the district level, really at the school level to get in front of those students and in particular engaging their parents. Most of our colleges have engaged in some pretty, what I call unique marketing
Mhm.
to students and engaging everything from Snapchat and TikTok, because that's where the students are.
Mhm.
And to be, let's be real, that's where their parents are too. So
Yeah.
they have leveraged those platforms to really engage those students, to introduce them to some of the opportunities, which we've seen yield some great results. The second way that we've really seen the needle move is getting those students on our campus. That was such a challenge during COVID because we had
Mhm.
great momentum with that
Right.
prior to COVID, but it's coming back. And so we are certainly grateful to have that. But getting those students on our campuses, what we call CTE days, career and technical ed days. That was an opportunity to engage all of our different department areas on campuses to really showcase what it is that they have to offer so that students can actually put their feet in those classrooms, in those lab spaces, to see what it is that they really would be doing, and to hear from people who actually do this of what the opportunities are. It goes, it's phenomenal to see that. We actually just had a career webinar where we heard a testimony from a student who is working in the mechanical engineering area. And he literally said, when I went to that, that's when I knew that's what I wanted to do.
That's terrific.
So it's phenomenal if we can do that. And then the third thing that we started doing, which again, we're glad that COVID is allowing us to do this again, is taking CTE to the schools. So the degree to which you can rally up your staff, your faculty in those areas and get in those school buildings to touch the students where they are, that was phenomenal as well, because then you catch students who don't even know that they need to be thinking about what they're going to do when they get out of high school, but they just see something cool happening, and here they go. So it's really great. And the information sessions that we have, which we do all the time for CCP, it amazes me the number of parents that end up saying they're going to go back to school, or go to school sometimes for the first time.
Right.
So it's really great when you can engage both student and parent.
Those are really great strategies. I mean, like you're really, focusing on, like you said, Snapchat and the different social media channels, where they are, where the parents are. We know getting to the parents are very important. And I can really appreciate the fact that, through that outreach, you are reaching some adult learners too, right, to come back into it. And so that's terrific. Thank you. You mentioned you do have a comprehensive analytics and reporting dashboard. Can you just give us a quick overview of that data? Because I did go to the dashboard and wow, like you can drill down on some very specific aspects. So just talk about maybe how you collect that data. I mean, that's a powerful resource.
It is. So that's a big one, but I'll focus it on the little piece with dual enrollment. Just to say, one of the things that we are really focused on is reaching the populations that sometimes we have struggled reaching, and ensuring that we're doing that in an equitable way. And not only reaching them to get them in, but really taking ownership of ensuring that we're getting those students through our programs and on to their next thing. That's our big thing, in, through, and two. So student success is huge for us. And so hence those dashboards we're doing. And of course they serve other purposes as well, but really and truly at the heart of it is student success. So we work collaboratively with all of our colleges. We have 58 colleges, community colleges in the state of North Carolina. It's a huge community college system, literally from the mountains to the coast in our state. Everybody, no matter where you are in the state of North Carolina, is within about 35, 40 minutes of a community college. And that's the goal, right? We want every area of the state to have access. And so with that being said, the importance in terms of our workforce of ensuring that we're getting students through is tremendous. So we work across all 58. They each have their own student ERPs or their systems that they manage their student records. I'll say that, stop using the acronyms, right? To manage that. And so we get reporting from all 58 in all the different areas that you'll see there. And that is obviously sort of aggregated, if you will, on those dashboards, and then disaggregated by campus to the point that you can drill down to literally the specific demographics, the specific age groups, the specific courses, which really give us a great view to ensure that that student success is really happening. We also work collaboratively with our sister agency in North Carolina. It's the Department of Public Instruction, which oversees the K-12 system in our state, because we share those students. So sharing of data is important as well. That's how we know what students are coming to us from what high schools and what percentage. In North Carolina, we gather about, actually over a quarter, approaching a third of our graduating high school seniors end up on a community college campus. And so that's tremendous for us to have that data and to work across agencies and sharing that so that we truly have a great picture of what's going on in our state.
That's great. Thank you. One last question before we go. And if anybody has any questions, I know Stephanie's been reminding you to put them in the chat. Please do. We have a few more minutes with Michelle. But we talked about apprenticeships and they're booming, right? So getting back, dual enrollment, how does that help North Carolina Community College? How do you help your students enter into apprenticeships and earn industry valued credentials through your dual enrollment programs?
Absolutely. Apprenticeships are booming. Actually, at the meeting I had before this was talking about that very thing. So one beautiful thing that we have in North Carolina is a few years ago, apprenticeship in C in our basically our state apprenticeship program, if you will, state board, is actually a part of the community college system now.
Okay.
So we're in the same building, and so it's much easier for us to work collaboratively. So that was tremendous whenever that happened. But I can speak to you from a campus perspective, even more so than that, even at the system level where I'm currently at. But on a campus, which is where I came from, our dual enrollment students began as pre-apprentices, working with different industry partners in different fields. We had everything from mechanical engineering to companies like Bueller Airguard, that you may know of. We have electronics engineering, companies like Lexus and Klein, which are here in our area, that we worked with tremendously to pull together these pre-apprenticeship programs that our dual enrollment students started while they were in high school in that junior year. They did a lot of outreach and a lot of recruitment to those programs. They would come start their coursework with us in one of those CTE pathways. While they were doing that, they were engaged in that pre-apprenticeship with getting that exposure in that workplace, really getting an overview of the different areas and departments within that particular company. They had a program in place where once the students successfully completed, they moved on from pre-apprenticeship into apprenticeship. They spent part of their time with us on our campus, as they did when they were in high school in the pre-apprenticeship, and then they moved on to actually engaging in work as well. So they were both completing that degree and then also serving out that apprenticeship, which was tremendous for students in reduction of cost to getting to that degree, and also in getting that leg up in terms of entry into that particular field, which is a win for everybody, the student and industry alike.
Right. Great. One final question. What challenges still exist?
Oh, wow. How much time do we have? Okay.
Just a minute.
We'll put it down to 30 seconds.
Okay.
Challenges. I would say that our biggest challenge still remains in my head of reaching the people and the populations that we just have trouble reaching. New and creative ways to do that, because even with the outreach that we're doing, the gap just isn't closing fast enough to me. So one of the things that we are working now on is our next sort of branding or marketing that we want to do to really try to reach these groups. So that's the first. And then the second, I think, is similar, is the success of those students. COVID was hard. It was challenging in terms of success. So what supports do we now need post-COVID world that we may not have thought about before? Lots of things went online. Some of them still are. Do we need to make systems better? So all of those questions around supporting our students for success, those are challenges. I think that we are our next hurdles that will happen.
Yeah. Makes sense. Well, Michelle, thank you very much. We really appreciate the conversation, your time this morning. Like I mentioned earlier, we heard from our friends at the Community College Research Center, and today hearing about your experience, in North Carolina, knowing dual enrollment is really a key mechanism for a more equitable student enrollment, right? We really thank you for sharing those best practices and strategies, particularly as it relates to the funding, because we know that is a huge challenge, as well as, like I said, reaching into those populations that we just have difficulty. We know that dual enrollment is is the step to getting them folks into college and into career pathways. And that's so important. So thank you very much. We appreciate your time. And now we're going to welcome Maura Cavanaugh-Dick, Associate Dean of Academic Affairs from Salem Community College, and Jason Helder, Principal of Salem County Vocational Technical Schools. I want to note, in addition to the administrative responsibilities, Maura also serves as the chair of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee at Salem County Community College, which obviously, you know, looking at dual enrollment through that lens, we appreciate your perspective. So we're going to hear about the partnership between Salem County Vocational Technical Schools and Salem Community College, how they allow students to obtain as many as 54 college credits at no cost to students and their parents through their College Accelerated program. Salem offers college courses on the Salem County Vocational Technical Schools campus after school, and they address logistical challenges of transportation, scheduling students to attend classes at the college. Both the dual credit and after school courses align to 6 different associate's degrees, including biology, chemistry, agricultural science, liberal arts, and nuclear technology, which is of particular interest to us today. So good morning, Maura and Jason. Thank you for sharing your program with us. As a quick reminder, as I go through the program, please use the chat for comments or questions throughout the program. And Maura and Jason, the floor is yours.
Excellent. Thank you, Stephanie. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay. I'm going to get things started, and I'm really excited to share information regarding our college acceleration program here at SCC and our partnership with the Salem County Vocational and Technical Schools, especially as it relates to infrastructure and energy. SCC offers 2 pathways or opportunities for high school students to accelerate their college careers. So dual college acceleration or dual enrollment really comes in 2 flavors, if you will: dual credit, which we call our college acceleration program, and dual enrollment. Both of these programs allow students to provide a head start on their college career at significant cost savings. And you'll hear from Jason, you know, that the Salem Tech even provides those cost savings for the students while preparing them for the rigor of college courses. It also gets them to their actual career faster. I just recently signed a graduation for one of our nuclear students just a couple days ago, and she took her 100 level classes at the VOTech at Salem Tech, and then took her 200 level classes with us, and now is ready to enter the workforce at PSE&G, which is excellent. All of the credits earned under both of these programs apply toward a degree at Salem Community College, and are also widely transferable to in-state and out-of-state colleges and universities. So our agriculture students may transfer to Rutgers University, New Brunswick, and those classes will transfer there. It sounds like everyone has already heard the research from CCRC in terms of best practices, in terms of college outcomes. We do know those college outcomes, and our goal here at the college is to hopefully have every high school student in the county to participate in dual credit, at least 1 course, but hopefully 2, because that is where we see that 2 courses or 6 credits is where we see the best college outcomes. So we've really made it a priority. The 2, on the next slide, you can see the explanation of what the difference is between dual credit and dual enrollment. And Jason will go into this a little further as it applies to Salem Tech. Dual credit is when students enroll in and receive both high school and college credit at the discounted rate during their normal class hours at their high school within their high school schedule. So they'll be taking their high school classes and getting both high school credit and college credit. We partner with all 6 Salem County public and vocational high schools, as well as other private and out-of-county schools as well. And basically, each high school, we work with them to provide a specific eligible and approved dual credit menu of courses that's including but not limited to English, English composition, literature, foreign languages, history, math, and science. And nuclear energy technology is one of the ones obviously that we're showcasing today in those in that dual credit. If you see on the next slide, we do have another opportunity for students to participate in the college acceleration program, which is dual enrollment. This is when students enroll in college credit classes taught by Salem Community College faculty while they're in high school. So this can either occur during school hours on our campus or outside of normal school hours at the high school, as happens at Salem Tech, or on our campus. So this really allows all the benefits of dual credit, but an extra opportunity for students to participate in the college campus and really get a feel for the college experience alongside other college students. And we've really seen an excellent retention of these students that participate in dual enrollment. More so, not that dual credit doesn't, but dual enrollment, when they really have that opportunity to sit alongside other college students, really helps with that. We have multiple programs, a Jumpstart program with one high school, an engineering academy with another, an early college program with another school, and then our partnership with Salem Tech that really those partnerships have assisted in terms of increasing access to this college experience. So I'm going to pass it on as we move to the next slide. I'm going to pass it on to Jason to discuss our unique and amazing relationship with Salem Tech and how we've created this structured program to assist students toward a career pathway as well as transfer pathways at Salem Tech.
Thank you, Maura. Thank you so much. Stephanie, thank you for including us and allowing us to be a part of the presentation. It was also great for me to listen to Miss Lair and her description of what's happening in North Carolina. Prior to us speaking, to me, it's always great to get a different perspective and to learn from what other schools are doing, and in this case, other states, so that we can certainly infuse it and learn from it to see what we can do to put our program together. Just last Wednesday, when the college had their college graduation and their college commencement, we had 9 students graduate with their associate's degree from Salem Community College 1 month before they're going to get their high school diploma as a direct benefit of this program. We have had over 60 students do that since the program's inception. And I think the way that that's able to get done is that both institutions, Salem Community College and the vocational school, I think in almost each endeavor, what I always find whenever we're working together, which is often, there's always an open-minded approach with the same benefit of trying to provide opportunities to students in Salem County. Where we are, there's certainly limited opportunities in a lot of aspects of their life. So I think both institutions are working really hard to make sure that that happens. The president of the community college, Dr. Gorman, is here and on this call, and is a unbelievable, not only just supporter, but an advocate and a champion for what we're trying to do. And we certainly appreciate that. So in the next slide, you'll see some of the different classes that are offered as a part of it and the degrees that are pursued. And you can see them on that screen. And as it worked, I think what's interesting about and why it's pertinent to the focus and the topic of infrastructure and energy is that at the inception of the program, which is around the year 2000, we weren't offering as many courses as we are now and in as many different platforms. And it started with the sciences. It was rooted in sciences and kind of focused in biology and chemistry. And one of the slides that you'll see momentarily kind of goes through the way by which the classes that the students can take, and a lot of them are rooted in the sciences for that reason. But what's been great is as we're able to expand the offerings to the students, we're then able to expand the type of students that it attracts. So in other words, for our school here at Salem Career Tech High School, we offer 16 different career path programs. And we have some that are rooted in the science, like our Academy of Medical Sciences and our Academy of Agricultural Sciences. But we also have welding and construction, electrical technology, and our nuclear energy program, which are rooted in infrastructure and of course, energy. So by us expanding the program with Salem Community College and expanding the types of classes that are offered, we are then able to attract students from those different programs. So it's not as though you have to be enrolled in a medical science program to take advantage of this opportunity. And then you see the second point that the education requirements, so we're not just limited to specific classes in biology or anatomy, physiology. We're offering English 101, Western Civilization, Introduction to Speech Communication, because those courses are required for a number of different degree programs at Salem Community College. On the next slide, you'll see that when you talk about, Maura had introduced it, that there's really two ways by which our students take the classes. So in the dual credit model that Mara explained, we offer a number of those classes during our high school day where our teachers are approved by Salem Community College to serve as adjuncts. And in the case of college biology, for example, the students are getting both high school credit for biology and also credit over at Salem Community College. Our school, SCVTS, pays for those classes on behalf of the student. So earlier in Ms. Lair's presentation, we're talking about the great benefits of tuition being provided and how that's able to overcome hurdles for the students and their families. That's certainly the case for us here in Salem County too. So we make it a priority in our budgeting and in the construction of our school that we offer those classes to the students. Then by doing that, then the dual enrollment classes where the students are both enrolled at Salem Community College and enrolled in our school, we offer those then throughout the day. At the genesis of the program, the dual credit classes were offered on our campus, and then anything that wasn't offered in dual credit, the students would travel over to Salem Community College, which is very close to our campus, and take classes on their schedule either in the afternoon or the evening. What we found over time is because while the two institutions are geographically close to each other, our county is geographically very large. So there were students who maybe lived in the other direction of the county, maybe 20, 30 minutes away, and were starting early to where they didn't have their driver's licenses yet, and there was no practical way for them to be able to get from the high school over to the community college. So again, going back to what I said earlier, we're presented with a challenge that, and historically the two institutions come together, work together to make sure that something can be arranged. So our school then became a satellite campus for Salem Community College, and we were able to offer classes right after school. So that takes away the transportation hurdle. So a student can stay after school, take classes, and then their parents just has to come and pick them up to bring them home, as opposed to picking them up at the end of their high school day, driving over to the Carneys Point campus, waiting sometimes for them to get done class, and then traveling back home. Now they can just come to our school where they already are and just stay after school and take a few classes and come back. We've at the point now where those classes that we're offering after school, those dual enrollment classes, the parents and the students are paying for those, but as Mara explained earlier, that's even being offered by the college at a reduced rate, as opposed to if they waited until they graduated high school and entered Salem Community College as a traditional student. On the next slide, we take a look at what those credits are available. So through dual credit, where the students do not and the parents do not have to pay anything for those classes, there you see on the screen the number of credits that they can attain towards those degrees without having to pay anything. It's all part of the dual credit package that we have arranged with Salem Community College that we're providing for. So if a student is pursuing ag science, a biology chemistry degree with an ag science concentration, the degree program itself, I think, is 66 credits or 69 credits, somewhere right around there. 33 of those credits are provided. So basically about half are provided at no cost to the student and parent. The nuclear energy program that we're really, really proud of, that Mara touched on before, which was really a collaboration between not only our two schools, but also PSE&G, which is the major energy provider in this part of the state, had come together to put together a very specific and well-developed program of studies so that the students could participate in that program and be successful as they transition not only to the community college, but then ultimately into the workforce. On the next slide, you'll see that what some of those classes are that are through the college accelerated program. Those dual credit classes, we offer a series of science classes. If you go to the next slide, it continues to show the classes that are offered specifically through the nuclear energy program. Our nuclear fundamentals and concepts, mechanical science, and electrical science. And what we find here at the school is that, again, what's been great about this is opens up students in other programs. We oftentimes have students who have entered our school into the computer assisted design drafting program, or who have aspirations to be structural engineers. And they are, of course, drawn to an electrical science class or a mechanical science class, because that is going to be a course that's going to be very transferable, even if they go into engineering major at a different school. On there at the bottom of the screen, you see the other calculus classes that we offer. And earlier I mentioned Western Civ and English composition, for a total of over 52 credits of classes offered during the day. Then I mentioned those classes that are then offered after school, so the students can stay. These are the classes that they're paying for. We offer a number of classes at the end of a school day where they can stay on, and we offer through 3 semesters. So classes run here in line with the college's schedule for the fall semester, the spring semester, and their summer 1 semester. And what happens is we introduce the program to the students and parents right in freshman year. They begin taking classes. If they are interested in attaining the associate's degree that I talked about in the beginning, they start with those classes right in their freshman year. So we sit down with parents right away, ourselves, along with some representatives from Salem Community College, meet with the students and parents and kind of give them what I call the roadmap to the degree. What they would take first, they'll take the AccuPlacer test as an assessment for entrance into the program that's administered by Salem Community College. And then they begin, of course, with generally their English composition courses. And then depending on, we then work with them to help them identify one of those majors that were listed on a previous screen so that we can work with them through, because there are, of course, different requirements based on the degree that they want to pursue. On the next screen, the next slide, you see those other classes that we've been able to, that they can take over at Salem Community College. There's a number of classes related to the health science program, the 2 physics classes that are offered over at SCC. For the biochem degree, if they're pursuing that, those are literally the only 2 classes they have to go take over at SCC. All the other classes are offered either during the school day or after the school day here at SCVTS. On the next screen, on the next slide, you'll get a chance to see those. Again, I think the other great benefit we tell the students, this isn't only for students who want to earn an associate's degree in high school. It's a great jump start to what they want to do in college. And it's a great way to get ready. The one thing that I tell students and parents all the time is, in high schools, we debate all the time, how do we get students ready for college? And, a lot of times it's a dual credit program. Some schools are offering AP classes or a series of AP classes to get students ready for college. To me, it's as simple as there's no better way to get ready for college than to take college classes. If you want the best preparation, then we encourage them to pursue those classes so that they're able to pursue that in high school. And so again, it's not just sciences. We have students that are pursuing criminal justice to go into law enforcement, education, to go into early childhood education, or transfer out to a 4-year program, culinary arts, and also general engineering. So I know that our focus here is nuclear energy technology, and I think it's one we wanted to highlight of everything that we're offering, because again, I mentioned before, to me, what's really great about it is how it came about. The fact that there was a collaboration with Salem Community College and PSE&G to put this program together and offer it for the students of Salem County was really, really key. The instructor for the program is Captain Joe Lario. He's retired captain of a nuclear submarine where he spent the better part of his career, and then worked 15 years in regulatory compliance with PSE&G, and is also approved as an adjunct instructor for Salem Community College. So, drawing from that experience is so important. We're talking about careers to pathways. A lot of what he is teaching about is built on what his career pathway was and what he was able to go through and to learn. So it's not just theory and concepts. He's giving them real world application of what could be done and introducing them to a number of careers that are in the nuclear energy field. We offer a series of career sessions. The vice president of PSE&G came into our building and spoke with students directly about how they can start in entry-level positions and work their way through. So it's not something they have to wait for a 4-year degree to get into an organization like that coming through with a high school diploma with some college or pursuing a 2-year degree, because they're very supportive of their employees going to finish their degree at SCC, that they can have a genuinely stable and solid career at PSE&G. And then the last slide kind of takes a look at where we see our partnership going and where it goes from here. And I mentioned before, it's always about enhancements. I think one thing Maura and I were talking about in preparation for this is one of the things that I'm really proud of is that I feel anytime an opportunity comes available, or there's something that's introduced to the county, either a forecasted labor demand or an opportunity to expand education in any way, I feel like our first call is always to SCC, and I know that theirs is oftentimes to us as well. And I think that that's great, because I think it's if the county has limited resources, our ability to share those resources and provide opportunities is key. Many have probably heard there's a big push for wind turbines that are going to be constructed off the off the coast of New Jersey. In where we are now, the New Jersey Economic Development Agency has put together a wind institute. We've been in direct collaboration and working with them to expand our submerged arc welding program and to create a submerged arc welding program and provide training. And that's something we've been in discussions, and SEC has been a part of those projects. Of course, that's going to then lead to more expansion in renewable energy, which is really, really important, and all the infrastructure that's going to take, at least here on a regional and local perspective, just to put in place the number of jobs anticipated created out of that, not just in energy, but in the construction fields, in many trade and industry areas. And I think what makes things work is that we're able to utilize the expertise of the college and the partners in the area to, again, it comes back to what's good for kids and what can we do to make kids think that something's possible out there, that they're not just limited to what they're taking in high school, and that they need to look beyond and set goals for themselves and know that if it's something they want to work towards, they're going to be able to achieve it.
Wow, thank you. That was an incredible, comprehensive program. Thank you so much, Maura and Jason. We do have a few minutes for questions. So anyone who has questions about that you would like to pose to Maura and Jason, please do put them in the chat. But just like talking about your nuclear technology program, I mean, that was, like you said, created in partnership with local employer PSE&G, very unique program, right? And very geographically significant in your area. Can you talk about the challenges and the opportunities that you encountered when you created that program, and how that could be used as your best practices and replicating it with other degree programs?
I'll start off, and then if Mar or Dr. Gorman want to add in anything that I leave out. It came from PSE&G. It came from a labor demand, and they were seeing that there was a change. They were anticipating changes in their workforce, and knowing that not only was the work itself changing, but a lot of the labor force was heading towards retirement, and they were seeing a great need, and they thought that they wanted to take a look at a more formal approach through education to prepare and to build a workforce. And they had reached out to Salem Community College, who had then worked with us, because if they obviously the college starts students at about a certain age, and they're getting high school graduates, and they wanted to look a little bit further to try to introduce the careers at a younger age. And again, there's so much that we already do together that I think a lot of times the connection's pretty natural. So that's how it got started.
Great.
Yeah, and I would just add into it. It really was, as Jason mentioned, that early exposure to students to the career pathway. We did work with PSE&G along with what's called INPO, the Institute of Nuclear Power Operations, to be able to provide a credentialed program as well. So as students did their first year or their 100-level classes at Salem Tech, they were then able to come on to Salem Community College's campus, actually at the PSE&G Training Center, and do their higher level classes, working right on the technology of the nuclear energy plant, to have a credential that would provide them not just an entry-level position into the workforce, but a higher level position into the workforce. So it really was that. We have seen some challenges because even when we started the program, those same things are happening again with the retirements and the getting students exposed to this particular pathway and getting them excited about this particular pathway. So we're working closely with PSE&G to maybe try to figure out how can we reinstitute some of these pathways to increase the numbers in the program as well.
Right. And I'm sure, like, when you hear nuclear energy, you don't necessarily think about clean energy, but it certainly does dovetail into clean energy, and really focus. Thank you for sharing your plans with expanding into energy and infrastructure, and your collaboration with the Wind Institute. Jen Becker is on. Hello, Jen. We actually had the folks from the Wind Institute present a few months ago on on the state of wind energy here in New Jersey and what's coming with the wind turbine. So that I know that the submerged arc welding is a huge component of getting ready with those turbines and the need. So it's great to have that focus. So thinking of what's coming, thinking of your partnership with PSE&G, right? And looking at that labor market demand. And now, Mara, this is specifically for you, looking at that equity lens. What best practices, what are you doing to help ensure that you are being equitable and we're reaching into those populations, you know, that we traditionally don't see entering into these fields? Because these are terrific career pathways, and we want to make sure that it's accessible and equitable to everyone.
Excellent question, and it's not an easy one, definitely. I think the model that we have with Salem Tech is our foundation, and I think we are trying to expand that model with our other schools in the county to expand those opportunities to the pathway. If we're just talking about nuclear tech or even with agriculture, I know we're doing that as well. You know, here at the college, we're trying. We've just appointed a coordinator of high school programs because we've seen the need for this increase in this pathway, and that students need to have kind of an advisor and wraparound supports. You know, that's been shown by the data to really help students from the high school transition into college along their career pathway. And we need to have that connection a little bit tighter. And so this new individual, Joe Pritchett, will be our connector to all of our high schools to help make this a stronger, more robust program in terms of building access, you know, increasing access into those areas where maybe students may not see those opportunities. And we've worked closely with PSE&G. The pandemic made it a little bit harder to get into each of the schools to expose those other schools to the nuclear energy technology program, as well as agriculture and some other areas as well.
Right. Awesome. Well, thank you again. I really, really appreciate your sharing this, you know, exemplary program with us and discussing your best practices. President Gorman, thank you for joining us today and sharing these programs with us. Michelle, Maura, Jason, again, just thank you. And we look forward to continuing the conversation in the future. So that really brings us to the conclusion of our collaborative meeting today. It was great to see so many returning partners, like I said, and as many new ones each month. You're all an integral part of the Infrastructure and Energy Collaborative and education ecosystem. So a few parting reminders. Talked about it earlier, but here's that feedback QR code. Please do give us your feedback. Partnerships, we want those of you who are new today, if you haven't gone to the website, you can go to www.njpathways.org, get involved, just fill out that information and become a partner, or you can just scan that QR code. Our social media channels, I mentioned earlier, when you're talking about being in the collaborative, you know, using our hashtag, but we're on all the social media channels. And then what's up next? Our June collaboratives. So we'll start on June 8th. If you remember, every Wednesday we have a different collaborative sector. There are 5 Wednesdays in June. So we're going to take the first week off and we will come back on June 8th with manufacturing and supply chain, and then moving down the line, technology, innovation, health services, and our infrastructure and energy collaborative would be on Wednesday, June 29th. Again, 10 to 11, we hope to see you all there. You can scan that QR code on the screen now so you can stay involved and get updated meeting invites. Thank you all and have a great rest of your day.